Yeah.
We're on the air, Bob.
Are we on the air? Well, welcome folks to the Saturday afternoon edition of the Wild Bob Ronnie Show. We
Them
got our
Ronnie.
resident gurus here today.
Gorillas.
Yeah, gurus. yeah.
Gurus. Not to
they
be confused with Ted
They
Carew.
tell you how smart a college degree will make you. And if you're well traveled and learned and everything. My colleague on the left here thought that Napa up here was an extension of Napa Valley, and he went in and ordered a glass of wine. And
That'll work.
I said, no. He said, we got car parts here. He said, you mean you're not from Napa Valley? I said, no, we're from the National Automobile Parts Association. And with over 250,000 parts available at just a click of a button. They're located right down across from IGA on the 4-lane. They're locally owned, independent, here to serve you, and anybody that knows anything at all about auto parts goes to Napa.
But they don't serve alcohol
No wine, no wine.
unless it's something in your coolant or your
I don't maybe
radiator.
want to drink any,
It's hard on dogs.
Yeah.
I don't maybe want to drink any radiator coolant.
We got Mr. R.L. Henson over here too. He ain't saying
But
much.
we want to welcome you
I
here
was
today.
just thinking about something he said there. They got 250,000 parts.
Yeah.
I took one of them world 6-speed automatic transmissions apart, and I believe it had that many.
Yeah, I was gonna say they ain't a lot of parts.
Right.
There's that many in a good watch.
But you know, we got most of our problems facing us right here this weekend.
I know they're facing me, all three of them.
But that number one problem is climate change.
Oh, yeah. Bad. Yeah.
All right. Who
Well,
said our phone wasn't working?
I think you have to
I'll
talk
tell you
on.
this one right here, I believe. Try it and see. No?
You have to. The speaker don't work on that one. The phone will work.
Hey, folks, how are you?
Yep, there, that'll work.
Hey, how are you? Great, you're on the Wild Bob Ronnie Show. What's up?
Well, while Bob's talking, and nobody can't hear what the callers are saying,
I can hear it.
can you
That's
hear it?
Shirley.
You got good
Yeah.
ears.
That's our friend Shirley calling.
Right.
We could go listen to it on the radio. We put the mic up to the telephone.
There you go.
Okay.
So what you got to say, Mr. Henson?
Just thinking about some stuff I've been listening to on talk radio.
Hope it's something better than this.
Well, I don't know why I couldn't see the guy, so I don't know whether he had a
Is
straight
that
face or
true? Is
not.
she not able to do that?
But he's stating that by the year 2020,
Right, okay.
that the majority of the automobiles will be these self-driving vehicles that you don't drive. And that by 2025, that it'll almost be illegal to drive a car. You'll have to have the type that drives itself.
When they gonna get self-flying airplanes? I may get me a Learjet.
They already got them now. They call them drones.
No, somebody has to drive them.
A drone,
Yeah.
but there's nobody on board.
No.
Well, an
Somebody
airplane-
has to operate it.
Well, the airplane's nobody on board. They gonna take me nowhere.
Well, that's a good question. How do these automobiles? Well, there's a ton of questions you could ask, but one of the main concerns, it seems to be, is that there's
Okay, all
tens of
right. Well,
thousands
we've
of
got a little
jobs
problem here today.
that will be eliminated.
We don't
Well, we're gonna be Luddites and go spike the wheels or something.
Well,
Directly after I hang up
if you
here.
can, if
And,
an
what
automobile
is
can
your
drive
phone number?
itself,
Maybe they can call you. for it,
so
they
can
donate
a
your
school bus
service.
or a trucks or whatever. I believe somebody else's phones are ringing, but anyhow.
Who we gonna sue if we get run over?
Well,
Okay.
Google?
These vehicles are not supposed to ever have an accident.
Yeah,
So
I
thus,
don't believe
we don't
they-
need,
I don't believe we own this
we won't
caller
need
ID.
no
I think our
policeman
phone
to
all the everything's
traffic
gone
cops
out
or anything
except
like that.
this,
We won't need no traffic court.
No idea, no nothing.
because they won't run stop signs, they won't speed.
They won't run red lights, you
No.
don't need red light cameras.
No, and they won't run into each other. I think this is great. I've got my rose-colored glasses on so I can
Okay, all right.
I can buy all this.
What about these
Yeah,
hackers?
will.
You know, they're hacking cars now.
Well, now you know they don't hack stuff like that.
They
You
can
know.
Okay,
get
yeah.
into a car now
Yeah.
and stop it on the interstate. Or they can take the steering away from
Okay,
the
you
driver.
call that number back, I'll get on it, okay?
Well-
See ya,
There's
Shirley.
here, the first thing that crossed my mind when I heard the thing, and I kind of think the guy, I don't know if he had a straight face when he's telling this or not, but if we're getting to the point that we're too, I don't know what the good word is, that we can't operate a vehicle, what does that say about our abilities, our intelligences, and whatever else?
It says you ain't much smart.
Okay, maybe that's right. Maybe,
Shirley.
could very well be.
Hello,
Uh,
hello?
but anyhow,
Yeah, this is Wild Bob Money Show.
I thought that was interesting, that there'll be no need for all this other stuff with these self-driving
Well,
vehicles.
what's happened, the speaker's not going on our phone here, so you just have to talk with me and I'll have to tell them all the lies you're telling me.
This has got to be canned and saved. We can't let this get
We're not
away.
coming through good.
We may have to see if we can't get her out, well.
You know, they say, you know, the government now
I'm just getting ready to tell
is
the
in
lies.
charge
you
of
need.
Amtrak. They have a lot of wrecks.
Nah, train can't run into a train.
They have all kinds of wrecks.
Talking about Amtrak,
Yeah,
boy, they have some messy ones too.
yeah.
Is it from hitting the other trains, or are you
Well,
talking about
there's all
just
kinds of
derailments?
stuff. Jumping track, everything.
Right.
Yeah, and going curves too fast.
Yeah, every time
When you
go down,
cannot
I did,
manage
nobody's
a
doing it.
vehicle on tracks that guides that vehicle
Okay,
Yeah.
wherever it's going,
It ain't like you're gonna take the wrong
what
road.
do you think's going to happen when they start flying these cars around out here?
they said you couldn't hardly understand what was going on up here. I said, well, it wasn't too hard to understand. I said, we got everybody up here talking, nobody listening.
Oh, mate.
That seems to be,
But
Well, we're letting you take care of Shirley.
seems to be right.
What did Shirley have to
Oh,
say
that's
there,
right.
Bob?
Shirley's gonna call her phone number back just a minute, and when she does, I'll tell you kind of what she said, but that was Digger. He can complain all he wants to. It was his decision to, advertise on this show, and I don't care if you did have 25 cars parked in this parking lot today, that's just good enough for him.
Covered up, huh?
Yeah, I teach him to advertise with Wild Bob Ronnie. He said,
Well-
I bet there were 25 automobiles in this parking lot.
Well, good.
You know, this potential
Yeah.
snow
they
didn't
had-
hurt.
They had not even heard about him charging only $35 for a tank full of propane, 20-pounder.
Tax
They
included.
hadn't even heard that. Just wait till they hear that, they'll be back down there knocking on the door.
You know, if they can make a car that'll drive itself, why can't we create a mayor, a municipal mayor, or a county mayor who can do the same thing and be as
Our problem is we already replaced the mayor with an automatic garbage truck.
They already
Moved him
programmed-
up, past his capabilities, and that's how we get what we get.
Promote
Garbage all over the road and the mayor like that.
promoted street sweeper?
Well, now, let me tell you what the government
But what
does.
about E.L. Morton? You know, we elect E.L. Morton as county mayor. Now, I'm sorry, folks. Anybody who's spent 20 years in the military, or 30, or 25, knows that anybody who spends that 20 or 25 or 30 years in the military come out with a case of what they call retire-itis. Because they are trained not to work. They gain rank and they have gophers that do everything for them. They tell them, go get this, go do that, go this. And they never have to lift a finger. Now, E.L. Morton was the head of our Chamber of Commerce for 5 years before we elected him mayor. He didn't do anything there.
My word, money. Okay.
We got Shirley on the line again,
I know it. I can tell Shirley from a mile away.
but we ain't got a speaker.
Don't really need one of Shirley.
Well, gentlemen, we've got something here in the county that I wasn't
Right.
too much aware of. It's called the
Right.
Economic Community
Right.
Development Board. And I wasn't aware of this.
Okay.
How many years have they been in existence?
Okay, I'll
Well,
bring and tell you
it
got
says they
applications
reconvened
going on
last
over in
Thursday.
Knox County Court.
Has to do with
Okay.
a new business
Right.
it says has leaked, that there's a new business coming to Carroll. Has something to do with, one of the
Right.
truck stops up on, I'm gonna say the 141. They said Carroll, but that is part of Carroll.
Okay, now what decisions are gonna be made there?
Wasn't a whole lot of,
Well, in a way, that
Pertinent information.
kind of does make sense. If you're going to snag money off the interstate, you are
He's
going to
not
add to the
able
local
or they
economy.
won't let her.
Generally, a retail store does not add any income any wealth to the county. But if you catch it as it's going by, it might work out. That might actually generate some income.
well, I agree. Especially
Right, okay,
something that
right.
sells fuel.
Well, the thing about it is, it's going to generate a whole bunch of taxes for somebody. I mean, that's all they're worried about
That's why I'm
anyway.
talking about fuel tax.
Mhm.
Right, okay, all right.
You know, there was some talk they might put a Walmart in up there at exit 141.
Yeah, now,
That'd be kind of an
Are you-
isolated place for
are
a
you,
Walmart.
are you,
They,
I can see you're serious.
they may close
Hey,
one at
keep it
Jacksboro.
straight.
Okay,
Face.
William
throw it
Beard,
out there
William
and,
Beard
give
was
them his
gonna
phone
bring
number,
Mercedes
and,
in
maybe
to our
somebody
industrial
come
park
through
up there at
okay?
141.
Yeah, we didn't
And
elect
we
him.
voted him out of
They're gonna
office.
say, we
How
just,
dumb can you get?
that's what I say. What's the story, Bob?
Oh, Shirley?
Yeah,
Well, Shirley, says that they have a petition in court over in Knoxville, regarding, the ability to, communicate and visit with this daughter of hers, okay? And, they've got a petition, and in this petition, they may decide that she is not able, which Shirley says she is, to even ask for a drink of water, or ask to go to the bathroom, or anything of that nature, which Shirley claims she is. And she claims if they go through with this petition, then she will be completely legally denied her right to have any contact at all with her daughter. And she's asking the public, if they will, to help her on this, and she's given a telephone number, which is 423-377-8929. And she's looking for some donations so she can do some things, as far as this petition is concerned. So if you call Shirley, she'll fill you in on the details, I'm sure. Now,
Yeah,
What was you-
she's been having a tough time with
Yeah,
her
Gad.
daughter's situation. And with the state bureaucrats who run the care center where her daughter's being kept.
it's been my experience that if you've got a job that requires one person and you hire three to do it, they'll all find something to do and need an assistant.
And it's usually
And
Natty.
you can't get anything done. The more you get, the less likely you are to achieve any result.
Right. We were talking about E.L. Morton and his career in the military. and how military retirees come out of the military suffering from a thing known as retire-itis.
No, it's rear-titis.
Rear tire-itis. Basically, they're used to everybody doing for them. You know, they don't even have to get their own coffee when they get up the rank of colonel and lieutenant colonel and all that. You know, somebody brings their coffee to them, does all their paperwork. All they have to do is sit around and, you go do this, go get me this, do that. It's called retire-itis. And we've elected a mayor who proved that he was suffering from retire-itis as head of the Chamber of Commerce for 5 years, who, the Chamber of Commerce, every member on the board, there's not a single business owner that's on that board. Every single member, now some of them work for businesses, but none of them own a business. So what kind of Chamber of Commerce is that?
That's one that's called the rear-titis Chamber of Commerce.
Run by a rear tire-itis sufferer.
There's, on this,
Here we got a phone call. Wild Bob and Ronnie.
Okay.
Hello. Well,
Evidently not.
the Chamber of Commerce is an organization that is national. There's I don't know how the thing works, but the Chamber of
Was it any
Commerce.
better nationally than it is
Well,
locally?
Wild Bob and Ronnie. You're on the radio. Who is this? Who?
This is Tommy. I just wanted to be a star on my birthday.
Well, our other phone ain't working. The reason you're using mine, so you go ahead and be a star.
Is this her
Alrighty.
birthday? She says it's her birthday?
It's her birthday. She's 26 years
Yeah.
old today.
Born on Valentine's Day.
How about
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be born 9 months after Valentine's Day.
Didn't work out just right.
You came
No,
too.
no, that's,
You came too quick, girl.
that's 9 months after Father's Day.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Well, happy
So,
birthday.
It's
And
kind of cold. It's kind of cold down here.
Cold.
I think if you'll track it, it's about 9 months after Mother's Day. What do you mean cold? How cold is it?
68 degrees.
How much?
68.
58 or 68?
What'd you say?
68.
68? 68? That's not cold. You don't know cold.
Well, it's going to get down to 50 tonight.
Oh yeah, I know. It's gonna get down to 50 here too.
Yeah.
I don't believe
Less
it's
about
50
40.
now.
It's gonna get down in the
Say
way down tonight.
Said about 10.
Tommy, has your boyfriend sent you flyers yet?
Yeah, he got me some yellow roses.
Wonderful. Gonna take you
Yeah,
out
he
to
does
eat.
good.
He's gonna take you out to eat tonight.
We went out already. We went and got sushi.
Ooh.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And
I hope
happy
you guys
ba-
are having a good Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you too.
Well, that's so much for the Wild Bob and Tommy show.
How about that?
Alrighty, well, you guys give them hell.
Hey, we miss you as a commentator on this show.
There's
Well, I'll
nothing
be back
common about
sometime.
her. She's an excellent participant.
Yeah, she did great.
See you, Tommy. Happy birthday,
Bye.
and Valentine's Day, and all that stuff. See you. Okay.
All right. And we were back to the rear tires.
Rear tires. That is and look what else we did. We took a guy who was the head of the incubator program, who for 5 years didn't do a thing.
Didn't incubate
He
anything.
didn't incubate. He didn't even hatch an egg.
I've got a hen out the
Well,
house that's raised 10 little ones, and as cold as it's been, she'd be good in that
Yeah,
program.
but he spent about $300,000 or $400,000.
One to the ring. Okay, it's something else. It's not ringing now. is
But
it?
it, what?
Spent about $300,000 or $400,000 at that incubator program.
A little over $400,000, and and didn't even hatch an egg.
Right.
Some incubator. But now he's been moved over to the head of the Chamber of Commerce. And my question is he still getting that salary as head of the incubator? Or has that program been shut down?
Well, you
Or
know,
is he still being paid there and being paid for?
Don't you think he should be paid for both if he's got both
well,
titles?
sure,
Hey, I'll
man,
tell you what.
you had that guy that was head of the ambulance service and had 2 or 3 other jobs he was getting paid
Sure.
for.
That's the way it ought to work.
That's the way it ought to work. We,
Right.
heard a question, something,
I'm waiting for you. E.L. Morton said he could fly free on military planes, and he would be sitting in the boardrooms in Berlin and Tokyo.
not Berlin, I'll guarantee you.
Yeah, Berlin.
Oh, Berlin.
Germany.
Okay, Germany.
Berlin,
Okay.
Germany, and
You was talking
Tokyo.
Beirut, wasn't you?
No, I was thinking Moscow.
No.
Okay.
Well, we could use some help from them too.
Right, yeah.
But he ain't took first trip.
Well, he's been
Fellas,
busy.
We're always thinking about, I guess it's kind of like along the lines of we all think we're going to win the lottery. And that's about what I think that, or feel that most of our leaders locally feel, that is we're going to win the
I
lottery.
think most of our leaders think they won the lottery.
When they get elected, they won the lottery. They're
When
getting
they
paid,
got
and
elected,
what do
they
they do?
won.
Fellas, if you don't have some means to what's the word?
They changed it on you.
Yeah, they've changed these words so much. Incentive. Use that word.
The
If you
what?
don't- Incentive.
Oh, incentive.
Yeah, incentive. If you don't have such, you shouldn't be expecting too much out of all these grant type organizations. There's no incentive whatsoever.
Yeah, there is. They pay a fee on all those grants.
Okay, yeah.
You get a
yeah.
percentage for
I
executing
understand.
that grant.
But you got your rose-colored glasses on now. I'm gonna have to get them on to understand.
Oh, well, I
But
told
you're
you
not
now,
going to.
Rose-colored glasses are passé. That's old stuff.
Well-
Now all they do is instead of putting on rose-colored glasses, is fire 'em up a joint and smoke it.
There you go,
It has
that
the same
works.
effect.
There you go. I heard something, a little word said the other day is that if you ask people what do they think about slavery, how do people feel about slavery? Did they,
I could buy me 4 or 5.
well,
You mean now or then?
then and now. What would be the definition of slavery?
I think we ought to enslave
Well,
politicians.
now we're all on the U.S. government plantation. Okay.
That is correct.
And,
Well,
you know, we're providing the goods and the materials and everything, and the government is passing it back out to us.
they're,
That's exactly the way they did on the plantation. The only thing they did, they wasn't too smart back there. They were giving the slaves all the grit from the grinding mill, and they were eating the flour and the cornmeal. And to come find out, it was the grit that had all of the
nutrients.
nutrients
stuff.
and everything in it. So.
Is that why they dominate basketball now?
Nah, don't go there.
That all
But-
come from many.
I think that's where they got rap music myself.
Many centuries of learning how to outrun the lions and the tigers and that sort of thing. The fastest ones got away.
Well, fellas,
Yeah, but the slowest ones got caught and sent over here.
when you come down to who's paying the bill, it's the working people down here. We don't use the word slave, but if you come back to a whole lot of what we're allowed, the working people, the one down on the bottom that's putting the sweat and the whatever into it, they're being allowed to earn enough, well, they're being allotted enough to kind of survive a little bit on, is
Yeah.
what they're doing. And the people, the overseers, are taking their part out of what we're earning. We're earning it, putting it up there, handed it over because there's some words wrote down on a piece of paper. And all the good intentions there was that those people who are overseers were to get paid something within reason, but not the way that they're benefiting from our efforts. And the people that we elect, and it goes right here, starting at this low level, if you were to take a look at what our elected officials are getting per hour for the hard time they put in, some of them are making $300 or $400 an hour for what time they're investing.
True.
And
That's why they say they won the lottery.
But you know.
yeah, they did win the lottery. But if you count up all of the things, and here, they don't tell you, you have to dig to find out what people are like a state representative. He gets so many thousands. I don't know what it is. But if you dig into everything else they get paid so much a day for every day they're there, for housing, for travel, food, you name it. It adds up all sorts of things. And
But they're public servants, you know.
yeah, they're servants all right. And they're the ones that's getting served. And
Yeah,
what
they're
we're
the
getting,
ones that getting served.
yeah, and we might be getting served if you go back to one of the other words.
Right. Well, you take, in this country, what you're saying is very, very true. I will beg to differ in just a little bit
Okay.
of way, in that this country is constructed right now, even if you are on the bottom, if you will apply yourself, save your money, and be somewhat, have some ingenuity, you can rise up above your statue.
To a certain level,
Right.
but
Maybe no, you can rise on up. Look how many people do not have a college education that has succeeded in this world. You got 10 presidents that did not have college
Well,
education.
Speaking of college education, they're having a big debate about this Scott Walker. from
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
fellas,
That's where Bob's going.
Let's okay. We're going to get off onto another subject right here about education. But I agree to a certain extent what you're saying, Bob. You can come up, but you're not going to really reach the top without you. There's a very few that do.
Well,
I mean, to really get
but that's
successful,
right.
right?
They ain't
But-
room for everybody at the top.
That's right. But if
Everybody
you
can't be a chief. Somebody's got to be an Indian.
Well, the way most people succeed is through a government granted monopoly, whether they ever
That-
acknowledge that or
the
not.
government, if you'll
Right.
come back, I'm going to say that 99% of the people who do become financially independent is through government.
That's
And I'm
called
talking about
crony capitalism.
directly or
Where
indirectly.
government picks the winners and losers.
It's where you have to
Okay.
get enough ahead to hire your own lobbyists.
To a large extent, I still say you can beat the system here, and consistently people beat the system here. In fact, they beat it so often that the Democratic Party, survives on poor people, okay? And they found out they can't make people poor enough fast enough to keep them in power. So that's the reason they're bringing in all these immigrants, is so they can have a new class of poor people to keep them in power.
Do you see where they're gonna be allowed to vote? Because they can get their social security number and they can get a driver's license.
Tax
And that's all
refund.
you need to register to vote.
Yeah.
Of course. But now,
And
this
the
is what-
federal government
Here's
is-
another
went
subject.
after, I think it's Wisconsin again, where the Secretary of State is requiring that you present proof of citizenship now, and the federal government's fighting them over it.
I don't think that's right. I think you ought to have to present proof of citizenship.
Well, fellas, there's another way of looking at an election, and I keep looking and trying to figure out how an election works. And from what I've seen locally and nationally as well, it appears to me that election is merely a formality. The people who are going to get the positions is already decided before the first ballot or the first vote is ever cast. The decision is already made. And I'm talking about in a lot of the stuff, a lot of these positions, it's already determined before anybody ever casts a vote. And I don't know how to tie it back to some of the, like the presidential thing. The oddities that went on and the irregularities went on in the last election, presidential election, and it not be looked into tells me that these decisions are already made, and if you
You'll
can't,
never see another federal election that is run honestly and fairly.
I don't think so either.
Never
I don't believe
again.
it. I believe
And it's gonna, as all government programs and corruption does, it's gonna seep down to the local level.
well, we're
You
going,
can take Windows.
let's go back.
When you download from these electronic voting machines, you can take Windows, call that file up, modify those numbers, put that file back.
Right.
You know, George W. Bush did not steal the 2000 election. All that garbage about them hanging chads and all that stuff down there in Florida, that was to destroy the most accurate method of voting, which allowed no cheating whatsoever. Punch card voting was the most accurate method of voting in America. We used punch cards the first time in 1890 census. They've been used by major corporations and government ever since. The FBI kept their records, banks kept their records on punch cards. It was the most accurate method of storing data that we had ever come up with. They had to destroy punch card voting in America because I'd say about 1/3 of the country, or maybe even as much as 1/2 of the country, voted. Out of our 95 counties, we had 28 counties that voted on punch cards here in the United States. And they have,
About money.
but the 2000 election was to destroy punch card voting. And George W. Bush did steal the 2004 election with using 7 counties in Ohio. The data from those electronic voting machines, which came from Senator Chuck Hagel's company in Omaha, Nebraska, which he was elected senator using his own voting machines. Now you explain that.
Oh, yeah.
And that data from those 7 counties in Ohio was sent to Chattanooga. Massage sent back to Ohio for tabulation. He carried Ohio by such a large majority that the Democrats couldn't challenge. The 2008 election was crooked, and the 2012 election was horrific. Did you know there were counties in Florida, in one county they had 148% turnout?
Well, sure.
This is what I'm saying about-
Their politicians.
38,000 votes out of, 38,000 votes out of Philadelphia. All 38,000 went for Obama. Not one single vote went for Mitt Romney. Now, darn it, somebody would have been drunk and accidentally pushed the wrong button. Now, you can't tell me that out of like 38 precincts.
You can't get that many people to agree on one thing nowhere in the world.
Cleveland, Ohio
It's
did the same thing.
mathematically
They had
impossible.
19,000 votes out of something like 22 precincts in Cleveland. Not one single vote for Romney.
This is what I'm saying. This is what,
And one of their election workers bragged about getting the vote 6 times.
that's correct. And you never heard anything done about it.
No,
It was
nothing
never
was done.
investigated.
So you folks, you can kiss your elections goodbye. And when your local election director decides to determine the outcome of close elections, it'll be real easy.
Well, the problem is this, now you take in the Sun Belt states, most of them have brought about election reforms. They're requiring ID and that sort of thing, and possibly may go to requiring proof of citizenship. But up here in these states like Illinois, which have these hordes of people, they're not doing any election reform, so whatever is honest down here or over here is negated by all this dishonesty elsewhere.
Well, I've got, in Tennessee, most of the electronic voting machines that were first sold in Tennessee was sold by a man from San Diego who had been election director. He had 27 felony indictments against him in San Diego for kickbacks. They called him the king of kickbacks in California. He was barred from working or even entering election offices except to vote. They couldn't deprive him of his right to vote, but he was barred from working in elections in California, Nevada, and Arizona. So he comes east, goes to work for a company out of Indiana called Microvote, and he sells voting machines in Tennessee for years. Now you tell me he didn't initiate a culture of corruption in Tennessee when it came to electronic
I
voting.
don't think he had to bring
He
it
didn't
with
have
him.
to initiate it, it was already his.
Well, he helped it along. He caused a
He
lot
just
of
watered the seeds.
Yeah, he sure did.
Well, these are the things I'm saying about, from what I'm seeing, that it doesn't make any difference. It's a formality that we go through, and we kid ourselves as to think. And I'm sure that there is some elections that are not significant. If you go and vote for the local dog catcher or whatever else, chances are, and it may even be messed with, but anyhow,
You know, some states
Let's
have a
get back.
recall.
Let's
Some
get-
states have a recall act where if a politician doesn't live up to his promises, like E.L. Morton promised us a bowling alley, and I'm waiting on that. But I really want that bowling alley. And we do not have recall ability in Tennessee unless they violate a law, like those people did up in Jellicoe, where they could actually file a case against them and have them thrown out for just blatant corruption. But breaking promises, you can't start a petition to have a recall, have them recalled. And when I presented that to all 70 Republicans down in Nashville in the House, sent it to them, not one single word of response. Well, I take that back. There was one. This guy said, if you'll get all your county commissioners behind that, we'll pass it. I said, hey, they're the ones that don't want me.
Well, that's true. Well, let me ask you something, you know, we've gone through several different climate changes in politics. We have just gone from a Senate dominated by the Democrats to one that is controlled by the Republicans. We have Scott Walker in Wisconsin, who is a Republican in a Democratic state. We just had a Republican governor elected in the state of Illinois, which is somewhat unheard of.
How do you know we had a change in Congress?
Well, when I say, because they moved Harry Reid out of his office and put somebody else in there.
Well, that's the only thing that you can tell from
I
outside.
didn't say how much change.
I thought he was just on vacation because he
I
fell and
didn't
broke
say
his
how much
face.
change, you know, and they moved Nancy Pelosi too.
Yeah, but they ain't changed nothing else.
And well, yes, she does not have her airplane that will fly nonstop
It's
from Washington D.C.
it's just-
to California.
It's just shifting the deck chairs on the
Oh, yeah,
Titanic.
I know that, they're just flipping it around, but what I'm saying, nobody on the Democrats wanted that change, okay? The Republicans who were on the out, they wanted it. Nobody in Illinois on the Democratic Party wanted the new governor to be a Republican, nor did the Democrats in Wisconsin want Scott Walker to be a Republican. So, you know, it looks like to me that we do have things that affect the outcome of an election rather than the manipulation of the voting machines.
Speaking of Illinois and Chicago, did you see where their Little League champions got
Yeah, they
the
cheated.
title took away
Yeah. But hey,
from Chicago? What do you expect?
did you
They're
see,
supposed to cheat.
did you see how that lady there was put out so bad?
One of the mothers. That's
Yeah,
all
I thought she is.
Hey, even Jesse Jackson's jumping in the middle of it now.
Well, they cheated. I mean, that's all there is to it.
No, according to them, they did things differently
Oh, yeah.
from white people, and they're being penalized for doing it their way.
Okay,
Sure.
well,
You know, you're supposed to, if you black, you're supposed to be able to go in and rob a convenience store and go walk down the middle of Main Street smoking a joint, and nobody's supposed to say anything to you because you're black.
That's right. It's a different culture. They're supposed to be treated different.
justice.
That's Bob, B-O-B, Andrews, A-N-D-R-E-W-S.
Will take offense to that, will probably spell my first name backwards.
Probably will. May put another O in it too.
Uh,
May put another O in it.
yeah, they
The,
probably will.
The other
They
day, I
probably
guess.
put a Y on the end of it.
The old boob's good enough.
And incidentally, folks, Duke, D-O-O-K, plays at 6 o'clock on television tonight.
I thought that was Duck University.
What?
Duck University.
Duck.
D-U-K,
Oh, let me tell you,
Duck.
Uh-oh.
see, I got I know a guy who has a sign on his car. He is the head of the Sam Houston Institute of Technology, and he has a shithead on his car. And the police stopped and told me he had to take that sign off.
Well, you know why Tennessee Tech University is called TTU now, don't you? Or TT is Tennessee Technology Institute. Because it used to be Tennessee Institute of Technology.
That's B-O-B.
Yes, TIT.
Hey, what about Marty? Hey,
That's Shirley.
Oh, you
got
were
what?
just started to say something
Yeah,
before I rudely
I got my-
interrupted you.
I put my
Something you want
rose,
to go back to.
I put my rose-colored glasses on so I can tell that everything is great in this
Right.
country. When the leader of the free world has got enough time to go around and act, well, you don't call it the fool, act,
Oh, that selfie video.
yeah, the selfie thing. If the leader of the free world
well,
has got
what
the
is
time
the
to do
donation gonna go for?
that, we've got nothing to worry about. And not only that, stock market's over 18,000. What else? The Dow,
Yeah, but
I
how's
mean.
that got anything
What have we got to
do
worry
with,
about?
your daughter's protection?
We're great. But anyhow,
97 million people out of work, not a thing to worry about.
no, we got nothing to worry about. It's great.
Yep.
What gets me is how do you have 97 million people out of work and the stock market's going through the
Okay,
roof?
all right, now I'll present it that way then.
They got a
Okay.
little club up there that plays this thing to suit themselves.
Okay. What is truth?
I know I invested
Sound like Johnny Cash.
Fidelity Investments. I invested $2,000, and I saw that drop to $200. And I called them up and said, you know, and ordered my money. I want my money out of there before it goes to zero. And I said, he said, well, haven't you noticed there's a recession? I said, look, there's only been a 20% drop in the stock market. How come my money's gone down 85%? 90%?
Let me ask you a
Well,
question.
you invested in high-tech, high-risk stocks. I
Let me show you another
mean,
subject
they just
that
bunch of thieves and Wall Street.
people want to hit on. And like I say, I got my rose-colored glasses on. I got to thinking today when I was out there working about the minimum wage. And I know I'm working for less than minimum wage. And then it started to dawn on me. We need this minimum wage, and there's some place, I don't know where it's at, it's voting on a $15 an hour minimum wage. And we got the longshoremen out on the west coast that are on strike. We got all that stuff set.
You know the reason gas prices went up? There's some threatened union strike stuff going on in.
refinery.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyhow, here's what I was looking at. I think that ought to go to $15 or maybe $20. If you stop to think, just think what a bottle of liquor costs or a bottle
What
of
about
champagne.
$100 an hour minimum wage?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
about
but-
Napa wine cost?
Now look,
How do they expect us?
when I was in college back in the 60s, there was a guy talking about a guaranteed income.
There you go.
That the left was really promoting this thing called guaranteed income. Why don't everybody in America just draw $100 an hour and we do whatever we feel
I
like?
agree, and a large percentage of this country believes we should go socialist.
And that's what socialism is. It's where everybody is guaranteed a certain amount of whatever.
Well, tell me why it won't work.
It will.
We print money, just
Yeah.
send $100 an hour.
You just
40 hours a week, $4,000 a week.
Some
to every
numbers go down
family.
to 30. See, Obama has made 30 hours a week full time.
Well, 3,000 a week. You know, send that to everybody in
Well-
America and let them do what they want to do.
the
Just think how creative we can
Well, now,
get.
you know, Apple made enough money in the fourth quarter of last year to give everybody in this country $100.
Well, what's wrong with that? They ought to send it to us then.
Well, they ought to.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
ought
that's the
to.
reason they made that
You know.
money was so they could give it away.
Yeah.
I thought they made it by taking that $100 away from everybody in America. That's
They
how they
did.
got
Who you
rich.
gonna call if you break your leg, Bob?
What?
Who you gonna call if you break your leg?
If I break my leg, well, if I'm in show business, the show has got to go on.
You ain't gonna call your lawyer
I'm
first,
just
are
on
you?
the way back down to my place.
Call a
Yeah.
lumber company
I'm
for the
I'm
trucks.
probably gonna call 562-9370. That's the number for Vital Care Medical Transport. And they're located right over here, right off of Beach Street. Got a wonderful facility, good equipment. They've been in the ambulance business, John Bond has for almost 40 years. It's privately owned. They don't make any money if you don't like their services. And it's a good company. They give you tender loving care, and it's somebody that I have had to use personally when I got kind of down and out.
And like Wilson Gas and Napa Auto Parts, Vital Care is run by people of impeccable character.
Locally.
Yes,
Locally, and the money stays
by
locally.
great people. You
Right.
can't find any better people than Mr. Bond or Mr. Wilson or the people that run Napa down there.
They don't get any government subsidies either.
What?
Don't get any government subsidies.
No, none of those places. They didn't even get incubated when they opened up.
No, no.
You know, they opened up on their own. And, you know, I didn't get any incubation. In fact,
My egg didn't
in fact, they
hatch.
tried to steal all my eggs out of the nest.
I know that. Our promoted street sweeper
Oh,
did
let me
that
ask you
to
something
you.
while we're here. Be sure and call Vital Care if you need medical transportation, 562-9370. Let me ask something, you know.
What's Digger's number,
You
by the
got,
way?
I think his number is 562-5444, okay? And, then the number up at Napa is
Napa.
562-2925.
But what does NAPA stand for?
Right, and the number for, the Wild Bob Marley Show is, 423-494-5020.
What were you gonna?
Wine. Napa
What were you
stands
gonna?
for wine.
What were you gonna say there?
Let me tell
What?
you right quickly.
Yeah.
Shirley was wanting all of us to make a donation and challenge everybody else to the donation. So we'll get into that after we have conferred with our financial advisors. Okay?
Now the next thing is you talking about. Let me ask you something. What do you want to ask us, Bob?
What?
You were saying. Let me ask you something.
Oh, okay, I forgot what I wanted to ask.
Well, we can't answer that question then.
Okay, all right. But what I,
Call Vital Care. You might have had a stroke.
what I was gonna say really, and, let's see, we don't get anything on this thing, do we? So, take care of that. Now, what I was gonna ask a while ago, you know, you have the little building down here in the bottom there, right? What is that?
Cat
when
Walker.
the break comes
Cat
out.
Walker's been
Yeah,
resurrected.
like that, when the break comes out. These boys go down and buy that building and decide they're gonna remodel it, okay? and they make a mistake, they tear the walls down on part of it, and the city says you cannot rebuild there because you do not have enough offset to justify rebuilding the building, okay? Let me ask you, you know, the city's getting ready to rebuild this building this woman run to up here. I just wonder if they've got enough offset up there to justify rebuilding that building.
Well, they don't live by the same rules the people do. You know, I love our promoted street sweeper who told a guy down here that has a transmission company that wanted to expand. He said, well, you'll have no problem if you just do everything the way we tell you.
All right, well, let me tell you.
You know, now you tell me, has this street sweeper ever run a transmission business?
No,
Has
he's
he
a
ever
lawnmower
run any
specialist.
business? Has he ever done?
Lawnmower specialist.
Lawnmower
Fellas,
specialist?
Yeah.
let me put one on you here. Whenever our leaders or whatever go out to recruit someone to come here to put in a business, do you reckon they take a copy of the County Powers Act with them and say, now look here, when you come to our county, here's the powers that we have.
We could take it away from you.
Yes,
after
sir.
you get
You
here.
look right here, now this is what we can do.
Yeah, well,
You reckon they do that?
I don't know, but what I was gonna ask you, if you go on up the street from the transmission place and go up there, right across from the hospital, there was a lubrication building built there on a postage stamp. There's not enough room there that if you step out of that building, you're gonna step on, city property, okay? But that building was allowed to be constructed because the person constructing it and owning it was the city attorney at that time. So he was able to build a building there by that lubricating place that, you know, the lot's not hardly any bigger than the building. But
You
yet
pull
they-
out, you have to be careful, cause you got, streets going two directions. And when you pull out of that lubrication place, you're in the street.
Yeah, if you step out, you're in the street there. And, but that was the city attorney who owned that piece of property and who gave himself, I guess, permission to build
That
that
must have been
building.
Reed Trout.
No,
No,
He wasn't,
no, Frank Dawson.
Frank Don, oh, okay, different
Well,
city attorney.
anyway,
well, I
fellas,
don't have any opinion on this.
I know where you're talking about what the situation is, but we're so proud of our County Powers Act, I think we ought to post that out here.
Get rid of the 10 Commandments, put
That's
that
right.
up.
And then, if that don't cover everything, we need to have another Powers Act of some sort. If there's anything that the county cannot control, we need to have another to where it covers anything else that they missed.
I'll tell you what,
But anyhow,
I just love the fact that the county could come up with the idea of taxing vermin.
well,
I'll tell you, that was, I wanted to be the vermin counter.